I sometimes wish I was African American, you know.
Hey, lovely viewer. Welcome back to Comfort for Life. Glad to have you, amazing viewer. It's another exciting time at Comfort for Life Network. I bring to you a collection of TikTok videos for educational purposes. So feel free to challenge, to leave your thoughts, to do whatever you can in an educative way, so that we can bring nuance on the things that people are having misconceptions or maybe ideas that are based on stereotypes. I just want us to clarify things here. That's the reason why we are here. So before we dive into today's video, kindly click that like button. I came across this video on my For You page on TikTok where Julie was expressing her frustration in Hollywood industry, and she went on to say that sometimes she wishes that she could have been an African American woman, so that whenever she speaks she won't be bashed. So I was quite surprised to hear such a thing from a white woman, so I did my little research and this is what I found. Because of their gender and races, African American women in Hollywood are in difficult situations due to damaging stereotypes that reinforce gender and racial biases. They are frequently marginalized and stereotyped.
Nothing worse than being a woman in this business. I sometimes wish I was African American, you know, because I think at least people don't bash them afterwards when they say something about a reality, which is very hard for a woman to open it. I think even hard. I think it's probably the hardest to be a woman, because feminists is probably something that people hate above all.
I'll be rolling up clips that were stitched to this particular post, but I wish I would have found more black women who would express themselves and tell us what they're really going through, what if they relate to such statements. What are we missing out in the advocacy journey? What are we missing out? If white women would feel this way, then there must be something unaddressed.
Okay, so in feminist scholarship, there's this idea that oppressions are not ranked, they're linked, which is the idea that you can't really say that like sexism is worse than racism or racism is worse than sexism, that they're all connected. Many black feminist scholars will say that their blackness, right, their experience of racism is actually the hardest part of their experience, more than their womenness. And that's because they don't just experience racism, they experience a modified, more pernicious version of racism, which is modified by the sexism that they experience. This comment doesn't just omit the existence of black women. It also makes the assumption that somehow the experience of black women is easier than the experience of white women, which is well documentedly not true. What's sort of not said is that she wants to be an African American man, which is unfortunately how a lot of white women come into feminism. They want to be men. They want power, not freedom.
And this is why I would never consider myself to be a feminist, because it does not include women who look like me. This woman sat up there and compared her plight to black people, which was already egregious, right? Let's say that no African American women exist in a country where black people have been lynched, have been enslaved, have to overcome all adversity in order to partake in that industry. You want to compare your plight to theirs, it's ridiculous. But African American women do in fact exist. So why are you acting like or talking like they don't? And this is why I don't believe in that woman solidarity thing that we're talking about. This is why that man was going around New York City punching black women in the face, identified by a black woman and not arrested. And it wasn't until 4 white women were punched in the face that he was arrested within hours. And I'm not saying it was even just the cops. I'm saying it's people, black women, Hispanic women, white women, everyone coming together when white women are being harmed. But if something is happening to black women, everyone is hush mouth. That's why those 2 twins got stabbed and it's not as viral as people getting punched in the face. That's why, because the love, the solidarity that we have for them, just know it's non-reciprocal. And I'm not saying we shouldn't have empathy for all people, because I have empathy for everybody under the earth. But what I am saying is, when we're engaging in those empathetic acts, just know we're engaging in a non-reciprocal relationship, because they don't see it for us.
Everyone loves a self-proclaimed feminist, right?
Nothing feminists is probably something that people hate above all.
The way everyone heard her, but her. Look, they see it. Look at this guy. The default setting for womanhood is historically whiteness. while black women have historically been defined simply as female. It was a way to distance black women from womanhood and therefore the genteel nature and expectations that would come along with protection associated with womanhood. And this is why many black women do not associate themselves with the term feminist or feminism.
Bash them afterward.
The funniest thing to me about this video is that she's very inadvertently highlighting what everyone's issue with white feminism has always been. That it was created and crafted around the interest solely of white women. And she's highlighting this by what she's choosing to say, which is that she would much rather be black than a woman because it's so much harder to be a woman. And the funniest thing about that is that somehow she's convinced herself that being black is completely divorced from being a woman, when in fact 50% of black people are women. But what she's basically highlighting is that her brand of feminism doesn't include them. It doesn't include black women. And so she's basically saying that logically it's so much harder because they have so many more things to deal with than the black people. And then also, of course, as a woman, she's going to have consequences for what she says, but somehow being black is like the infinity stone, a protective layer against any type of criticism, when nothing can be farther from the truth. You literally have the mayor being like completely castigated because of a bridge collapse because he wore a sports jacket. You have all of these DEI backlash shit where people are saying that black people are wholly like unqualified for every position they have. Everything black people say is called into question. There's no belief in the validity of what we're saying. Like she's truly unaware of what it's like to be black and knowing that what you have to say actually has more of a consequence, even if you do the job completely fucking right.
The crazy part about this interview is that Julie is a working actress, and yet she didn't see this.
I'm just tired of working so hard, being gracious at what I do, getting paid a fraction of the cost. I'm tired of hearing my sisters, and I'm just tired. I'm tired.
You still will have consequences. And the quiet part out loud is very frustrating for me because you hate to hear that people are so bigoted, but also it's very validating because it takes away that thought that maybe it's all in your head. It's like, no, this shit is really real. They're saying it.
So what just happened in that video, what Julie Delpy just said is the dangers of white feminism 101, right? It is a lot of white women not understanding that, yes, you can be oppressed in your womanhood, but it doesn't mean that you are not also an oppressor in your whiteness, right? You have a shield, but you also have a sword. For starters, if it wasn't that bad being black, you wouldn't have used it as a parallel or an example of, oh, I would even be black, right? You wouldn't have done that if it wasn't just so hard being black. Also, it's funny how whenever white women say things like this, they erase the fact that black women exist, right? People existing at the intersection of womanhood and blackness. So just being a woman by itself as a white woman can't be the hardest thing if there are women who are also black. There are also women who are black and women and trans. But again, this is the danger once again of white women not seeing in mainstream white feminism how dangerous they can be, how dangerous their mindset that they are the most oppressed creature on the planet can be, when in reality, if they had just a slight sense of intersectionality, a slight sense of intersectional feminism, womanism, so on and so forth, it could be a game changer. But
American, because
where do I begin? Is it the part that you don't think black women are like going to be subject to the same level of misogyny, if not more than you are going to be? Is it that you consider black women to not be women? Well, Is that like black women, when they speak out against injustice or, you know, oppression or any kind of like, you know, caricatures that exist in Hollywood for black women, they get listened to, they get appreciated, things change? Is that what you're saying happens? Because I listen, I've been of the mindset that I live in freaking bizarro universe for a long time, so I would really like for somebody to give me proof that I don't, because I don't know what the is going on anymore.
Allow me to wrap up this video at this particular point, but I just want to address something that seemed to be overlooked. I just want to acknowledge that I feel the frustration and even of the dismissal of her point of view, of her understanding of things. And I know it can be the case to everyone who would want to express themselves, but it doesn't carry the weight that they would want it to have because of her race, you know. I don't want to be biased here, but I just want to let's have a common ground. Let's have a safe place where everyone can express what they feel, how they feel, their point of view, and without jumping into conclusions. Because of how the algorithm work on TikTok, this video had been posted in 2018, but it's circulating on For You page in this year, 2024. That's why people are commenting on it. But later on saw another clip where they have said of her apology after making such a statement. So, but I also feel like there's something missing in the conversation. Yes, she had apologized, maybe because of how the media looked at her opinion, but also, what do you think about this particular clip? She had apologized. Let me just say that she had apologized for the clip, but what do you think about this?